Mount West High School, the site today for East Penn Conference football action. We're in the North Division. D11sports.com Game of the Week, presented by St. Luke's Sports Medicine. Hi and welcome everyone. Al Carlo alongside Matt Evancho. Glad you could join us here as we head up to Pocono Mountain West for the second time. We actually started up here against Easton in our inaugural game, and an exciting time to be up here in a good matchup between two teams, despite their records, 2-4 for Dieruff and 1-5 for Pocono Mountain West. This is a playoff type game, knowing where the district standings are.
On the field earlier at the beginning of the game, talking to both coaches, they both see that as the look into this game, that it is a playoff game for them. It's their way to win their way in, and both of them like the schedule they have set up for the rest of the season as well. So it's each team needs to just figure out what they need to do to pull out the win today, and then set up their season and moving forward. But it's going to be an uphill battle for both of them.
Dieruff Huskies under head coach Dave Liddy in his first year, coming off a win against East Stroudsburg North, 42-6, 2 straight wins. Mark Castro, their junior quarterback, when we talked to Coach Liddy, he said he has to play well for them to produce a win today.
It was not even a second that you asked Coach Liddy, hey, who has to perform today for you? And he pointed right to his quarterback. He said he's been having a great season, getting better as the weeks go on, making the correct reads. He needs him to just stay within the system and just stay within himself and not try to do too much, and just continue to trust his teammates around him.
For Jim McCarron, his 18th year, 62-123, coming off a loss, and for them, Lawson Bray, their senior quarterback, they're back healthy itself. He's about 150 yards away from 1,000.
And Lawson Bray, we saw him in the first game of the season. He's very talented. He has a lot of core weapons around him, and again, he has to do the same thing. Castro, we're going to see 2 quarterbacks doing the same thing in this game, just doing enough to make their teams. Put their teams in a position to be successful, and then also try to make some plays here and there strategically to get them an advantage.
The loss against Freedom last week, and he talked about a very good football team in the Freedom Patriots. Actually, they handed Easton their first loss last night, so the Easton Red Rovers are no longer undefeated. But it's interesting, and we'll talk about the 6A classification. Well, what it means throughout this live stream. But this matchup is pretty intriguing because again, 1-5, 2-4. You think, all right, well, they're out of the playoffs. But when we talked to Dave Liddy, he said the same thing. When you have your players understanding and believing that, hey, in October, this game means something, it's a lot.
And as you just said, hit the nail on the head right there, Al. The fact that these two teams are playing meaningful games in October, this is not something they're usually accustomed to. It's a sign that each school is turning their program around and getting themselves to a position where they're taking the next steps. They're moving forward, and they're getting better year in and year out.
And right now, top 8 make it, and, Dieruff, West, Allen, and Pleasant Valley are the bottom 4 right now. Here is the singing of our national anthem. Oh, Matt, as we look at this matchup, obviously it's two teams in position to see what they can do here at the same time. And, we talk about the beginning of the year, and I think this is something that we have mentioned for a while. The beginning of the year now you're, week 6, week 7, week 8, and is teams that know where they're at and know they're going to be in the playoffs. Then you have teams that are just, at the brink, and these are those two teams at the brink.
And I think you also have to add in there the teams that are still fighting for their lives to stay in the playoffs, due to anything that can happen late in the season. Talking to Coach from Pocono Mountain West, he's ecstatic today. He's getting everybody back now. Everybody's getting healthy again. He went through a stretch there where they were missing key players week in and week out, where they weren't able to have their full component on the field for them. So to have them all back now, at this point in the season is great for them. And like you said, playing for a spot in the playoffs. Same thing for Dieruff. They're getting healthy as well, getting themselves ready to go and make a run.
Well, how about it, Matt, when you talk about the injuries? He's had a bunch. It's not like he has only one. And the big-time players. And this game is so much different when you look at it with Caleb Monaco in it. It's a totally different game. We saw Caleb Monaco against Easton the first game. Since then, he really hasn't played that much. So with him in the lineup, it's a big difference.
Correct. I mean, we saw him in week 1, like you said, and he's sitting at just under 300 yards rushing right now. We knew he was a dynamic playmaker for Pocono Mountain West. We saw it firsthand, and so did everybody watching the game, what he's capable of doing. And he just had a nagging injury going in the last few weeks, finally getting himself in a position where he's healthy and where they feel comfortable having him out there a majority of the snaps. And listening to Coach today, they're gonna use a heavy dose of Caleb Monaco.
No doubt about that, and Coach was so excited about having a bunch of his players back, and Lawson Bright even got hurt, a couple of games ago, but he never left, and kind of his go-to guy. You lose Lawson Bright and you lose your signal caller, things are a bit different for you.
Correct, and I think that's the big one, that they were able to find him or get him healthy and keep him healthy, where he just missed a little bit at the end of a game against Northampton, but able to come back the very next week, and continue to run this offense for Coach McCarroll.
Well, Dieruff will receive the football first. Keys to the game. Take a look at the Pocono Mountain West, control the offensive line and stay disciplined for them. And, obviously this is a big part for them. The other side for the Dieruff Huskies, they want to establish the run. They want to control the clock, and they want to limit third down conversions. You look at those keys, and it's big for both teams.
It is, and I think it speaks to Coach McCarroll and what he spoke to us about, the offensive line. They need to control that offensive line. He felt they needed that offensive line to be a little more successful for them this season. It hasn't really gelled just yet, but they're coming around. And looking at Dieruff, establishing a running game and controlling the clock is going to be a key, keeping the playmakers of Pocono Mountain West off the field. And then defensively, it's always about getting off the field on third down. So limiting the conversions that Dieruff can make, that Pocono Mountain West can convert, get the defense off the field, put the ball back in your offense's hands.
So Omar Laura will return the football. And we'll bring in the starting lineup for the Dieruff Huskies. Huskies with Castro, you mentioned. Obviously, he's the go-to guy, but Alejandro Valderrama, he can run, and he is such a key part of it, and I think we're going to see him get the football a lot tonight.
You're correct, and I think you also look at the 4 receivers they have on the outside. Each one of them is talented in their own right, some with size, some with speed, some with being able to be a possession receiver. So Castro has a lot of weapons around him. I want to point out for Pocono Mountain West, though, linebacker in 57, Vito Natalialo, Coach McCarroll was raving about what he's gotten out of him this season.
Well, escaping through traffic and fortunately getting positive yards. Looked like he was going to get tackled in the backfield. But, we mentioned Valderrama. You mentioned a couple of the receivers in Wynn and Booth. And I think they're going to get a lot of, talking to Coach Liddy, he said before the game that, they've been 50-50 run and pass. But at the same time, you may see a little more, pass today than run.
And I think you're looking at the starting lineup. It's going to be the key to them is going to be the offensive line. Pocono Mountain West does have a talented defensive front. So if Dieruff wants to be successful, they need to be able to control that offensive line and allow the quarterback time and give the running backs time to get through the holes.
So first pass completion to Eric Escobalas.
And that's one way to neutralize the Pocono Mountain West defensive line is having Castro move the pocket and roll out, giving him space in front where there's nobody in front of him. He has clear vision of his receivers down the field, able to find Escobalas, as you said.
So just underway, about 50 seconds in, and Dieruff with a good start here in 2 plays. They're already across midfield, down to the 44-yard line of Pocono Mountain West. Castro on the season, 38 of 77 for 600 yards. He's got 7 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And there's our first flag. Referee is Joe Diorio. So all positive right now if you're Husky fans.
And they're limiting the time. They're taking their time offensively, not allowing Pocono Mountain West any kind of rhythm defensively. They're keeping them off balance and just utilizing all the space on the field.
First down 5. Castro picks that one almost off the ground, and going to the far side is Valderrama right at the first down marker.
It was number 5 for Pocono Mountain West, Preston Green, coming up from his linebacker spot, cutting off the angle that Valderrama had going around the edge and driving him out for a short loss.
So the ball sits right at the 40-yard line. Great October afternoon here. Again, 2 o'clock start. SATs this morning. It'll be homecoming as well. Far side, and that one is incomplete. Looking in the direction of Josh Wynn.
And Josh Wynn had an opening, had a nice route. Castro had the ball there, but just lost his footing as he was coming out of his break on his hitch route.
.16 on the clock. Opening quarter, 3rd down and 7 from the 41. Has a receiver, and he will connect and move the chains for the first down. So the Huskies continue their drive effectively after the pass completion to Escobalas. So Escobalas, with a couple of receptions here on this drive, now has 10 on the season for more than 130 yards.
Dieruff offensively using just some short, high percentage passes to move the chains and continue to allow Castro to get comfortable before they ask him to go deep at all and take some lower percentage plays. Just getting him comfortable and getting some confidence build up.
Motion to the far side and nowhere to go. A bunch of players in there for Pocono Mountain West.
And it looked like Valderrama had a little bit of a seam, but Pocono Mountain West, as you said, defensively just closed that down quickly and gave him no room at all.
So 2nd down 10, the ball sits at the 32-yard line. Escobalas in motion and getting that one back and then throwing in that direction, but incomplete.
You have to credit Castro and his athleticism on that play, putting the ball on the ground off the snap, but able to pick it up and get the ball out and deliver a catchable ball to Escobalas, but just not able to bring it in.
They'll bring up a 3rd down for the Huskies. Again, the Huskies have converted twice here on 3rd down. Looking to keep their drive going. Opening drive for the Dieruff Huskies against Pocono Mountain West. Looking to throw and going for this one-on-one coverage. Hangs up there for a while and is intercepted. Taken there by Deion Marshall. So Deion Marshall comes up with the INT, but there is a flag on the play.
And I think they're going to grab or catch Pocono Mountain West with some pass interference as he pushed off to get the interception.
Matt, from here it looked like there was that push off, so believe Huskies are going to move the ball forward.
So it's fortunate for Dieruff that they continue to drive with that penalty. He gained 15 yards, put him inside the 20 on their opening drive.
So, you're looking at 3rd and 10. You get the interception. Now, all of a sudden, you're looking at a first down, after the ball is moved up. And so, the drive continues here for the Huskies. First and 10 from the 15-yard line for the Huskies. Castro out of the gun. And another flag.
Penalty flag before the snap. It is a false start on the Huskies.
And this time we have a false start against Dieruff. Unfortunate for them, Castro was running the zone read, had a great read and pulled it out, and there was nothing in front of him heading to the end zone.
First down and 15. The ball sits at the 21-yard line. Escobar's in motion. And that one incomplete. Scooting across for Escobalas, but it slipped right through his hands. And I'll bring up a 3rd down.
And one of Coach McHale's defensive linemen on that play, number 10, Dylan Colford, was the one coming up and applying the pressure on Castro, making him throw a little bit sooner than he wanted to, off his back foot, but still delivering a catchable ball to Escobalas. Dieruff can't afford to continue to drop balls that they should be catching if they want to come out of here with a win.
2nd down and 15. Escobalas in motion once again, and another flag. So this definitely is not the start when it comes to Coach Liddy. You're seeing, you had the 15-yard penalty, you had the pass interference, everything going your way, and all of a sudden things have started to change with 2 penalties back to back.
Yeah, 2 straight penalties coming back, incomplete pass in between, or in the middle of those 2. But definitely that time it was Valderrama moving in the backfield before the snap.
So 2nd and 20 from the 26. On the ground they will go. They get a face mask there. He was tackled on the play by Paul St. Omar. But and there it is.
The penalty is a face mask on the Panthers.
So that'll bail out Dieruff a little bit in terms of giving him some yardage back.
We've seen more penalties here in this opening quarter than we saw last game between Central and Easton.
Fortunate for Pocono Mountain West, only a 5-yard face mask penalty called against them.
Already we're approaching the 8-minute mark. So a 4-minute drive here for the Huskies. 2nd down and 15 from the 26. Looking to throw. Here gets the pressure. Tries to scramble. And now off the back foot throws that one, and that one knocked away. Good job defensively on the play by Tyler Armand.
Play initially started with the pressure coming from Dylan Colford again from his defensive end spot for Pocono Mountain West, flushing Castro out. One thing that Castro needs to be careful with, throwing that back across the field as he's rolling to his right, dangerously close to being picked off by not 1 but 2 Pocono Mountain West defenders.
So they'll bring up a 3rd down and 15. Ball still sitting there at the 26-yard line. Castro going to throw, and that again in traffic, and almost had a completion as he was looking for Jaden Booth.
For Pocono Mountain West as well, back in coverage, able to get back and close down on it, but not coming up and attacking the ball that's high point, If he did that, I think they come up with the interception on the goal line, but they give Dieruff another chance at the end zone.
So Pocono Mountain West trying to stall this drive. Again, they had the interception, but because of pass interference, it was taken back and continue to drive with the Huskies. Now it's 7:56 on the clock. It'll be a 4th down and 15 from the 26. Still no score. Castro rolls, has some receivers on that side. Again, airs one up, 2-on-2 coverage, and that one knocked away. Good job defensively on the play by Isaac Menshaw.
It was a smart play by Isaac Menshaw as well. Not going for the interception, knowing it was 4th down, knock the ball down, give your offense the ball back up at the line of scrimmage as opposed to catching it and only getting it at the 20-yard line.
So we'll see the Pocono Mountain West come in, and we'll take a look at their starting lineup as well. Because, again, it's different from the last 2 weeks, Matt, and I think that's a big key when you look at the Panthers and, the guys that they bring. So we watch this play first. Lawson Bray is your quarterback, and Caleb Monaco has been waiting to get the ball for how long, and he gets his first carry of the game, still on his feet, breaks one, and we'll get the first down and more. Again, a different type of guy, different type of team when Caleb Monaco is in the lineup. And I know Coach Lee said, well, if he's playing, it's one thing. If he's not playing, it's a different story. So he's playing.
Correct. I think having Monaco back gives Pocono Mountain West another weapon where it's not relying just on Bray and the receivers to do what they do. This time you're seeing Monaco. We're going to see a lot of 2-back sets out of Pocono Mountain West, not so much as the spread. Getting Monaco behind the fullback and getting extra blockers in there, some unbalanced sets, and just letting him do his thing and run.
On the ground again. So the Panthers starting lineup, you got Bray at quarterback, and then Preston Green, who also was a guy that was, being dinged up. Caleb Monaco, TJ Armand was out. Bayvon Rowland was out. So, you're talking about 5 guys, and then you look at the offensive line. That was, a couple guys dinged up, and so they're finally at maybe 90% healthy, coming into the game.
And that's key, especially like we said, getting healthy late in the season and then trying to get everybody back together and developing some cohesiveness is what Coach McCarroll's looking at for his team today.
2nd down and 8. Monaco tries to get to the outside. Still on his feet, still getting through, and we'll move the chains for another first down.
It's the first guy not able to bring down Caleb Monaco. He just eludes that tackle, getting a lot of yards after contact. Coming off a hamstring injury, he's been chomping at the bit to get back in this game and get the ball in his hands.
.6:33 remaining, opening quarter. Bray takes a look at the defense. And they continue to stay on the ground. Another 5, 6, 7-yard pickup for Caleb Monaco. Monaco came in, you mentioned, below 300 yards, 34 carries for 270. After last year going over the 1,000-yard mark.
And what you get to see out of Caleb Monaco is a patient runner. Not just committing right away. He's getting north-south into the line of scrimmage, reading his blocks, and then keeping his shoulders square to the line of scrimmage as he cuts left and right, making it hard for anyone to get a clear shot on him.
2nd down and 4. The ball sits at the 40. I guess if you can't stop him, you keep going with him. 40 yards on the touchdown for Caleb Monaco.
Caleb Monaco, 40 yards.
And what a way to come back. First game back from injury, not having the season he was expecting due to injury, and then getting the drive going, basically all Caleb Monaco. And I guess Coach McCarroll did not steer us wrong when he said we're going to have a steady dose of Caleb Monaco all day long.
Well, I said to him, is he itching? Oh, yeah. He said, yeah, he's itching. He wants to get back out there. So for Monaco, that's his 4th rushing touchdown of the season, and that will help that 7.9 average go up a little bit as well. So first points of the game go to the Pocono Mountain West Panthers, and this one squeaks its way through. And with 5:20 on the clock, it's 7-0 in favor of Pocono Mountain West.
Starting the game, we had Dieruff come out with a nice long, about 5-minute drive down the field, but not able to come up with any points. Then you see the reverse of that. Pocono Mountain West offense comes back, 5-6 plays right down the field. Caleb Monaco, long touchdown run, takes very little time off the clock. So you see why Coach Luddy and the Dieruff Huskies need to control the clock. They need to keep the ball in their hands because these athletes and the playmakers of Pocono Mountain West can be dangerous from any part of the field.
At the same time, we talked to Jim McCarroll, and he said, we said, what's your biggest concern? And he said, Dieruff's got playmakers, and they have some on the other side as well.
And they just need to get a chance to get out there and showcase them a little more. So that's where you have that fine line where you're trying to control the clock. So by controlling the clock, do you pull back a little bit and not take as many risks? I think Dieruff has to find that balance where they are controlling the clock, they're running the ball, but they're also taking a couple deep shots, take some risks here and there, calculated risks early in the downs on the drive.
Huskies will get good field position here on their second possession as this one gets up across the 45-yard line. So we'll bring up the offense here for the Huskies for the second time, down by the score of 7-0.
And as we said earlier, the Dieruff offense is going to run through Mark Castro's hands. He's going to have to set the tone for this team and get his playmakers going, get the running game going, and get the passing game going. It's all going to come out of him for them to get some points.
Looking to throw, far side, has a receiver, and puts that one into the hands of Josh Wynn. When the sophomore came in with 6 receptions for 158 yards and a score.
Mark Castro does a nice job staying in the pocket on that play. He takes a hit right under the chin just as he delivers the ball to Win, but showing his toughness for his team, just sticking in there and doing what he has to do.
On the ground, trying to get a couple extra yards on the carry by Javon Rodriguez.
Javon Rodriguez, one of the juniors that Coach Luddy has been talking about. He said they're playing a lot of juniors, a lot of sophomores, which actually is going to bode well for his team moving forward in the future as they come back with a lot of experience next year.
Rodriguez also has seen some time at quarterback. But you can see the Pocono Mountain West defensive line taking care of business there. They bring up 4th down.
This would be a key call for Dieruff Huskies if they decide to go for it. If they don't get this, giving a short field to Pocono Mountain West.
So 4th down and 3. Well, Huskies almost got him to jump.
That was very close. The
Yes.
official on the far side had his whistle up in his mouth, ready to blow it, but pulled it away.
No, they will snap it and we'll go for it on 4th down, and they will convert on the reception made downfield by Escobalas.
The Husky receivers are getting space. They're getting open in space. They had a couple drops. Castro's giving them balls that they can catch. If they can continue to just be patient and take a couple deep shots, I think they can open up this defense and get their running game going.
So the ball sits at the 39-yard line.
Thanks, juniors, for coming on back.
And taking it himself is Castro. Castro comes to the near side, has some space, and will try out of bounds after converting another 1st down. Or Dieruff.
That was a nice read by Mark Castro and a nice call by the Husky coaching staff. They pull that zone read, and they have the defenders all going to the running back, and then he had 2 receivers out in front of him blocking to give him all that empty space. Not quite sure what's going on with the sticks on the far side, though. They're running the 1st and 10 the wrong way.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, you saw it. Now they're moving them. All right.
Huskies.
I'm going to say, first and nothing. I'm sure Dieruff would have taken that, though.
From the 29. And that ball just gets away. And trying to dive on it, cannot. And instead, coming out of the pile is Vito Nataliello.
And that was the one Coach McCarroll was talking about. Vito Nataliello was the one, a surprise this season, just how well and how consistent he's been playing at that linebacker spot. Miscommunication from the center to Castro on that play. Looked like the center was snapping for a rollout to the right. And Castro was sitting in the pocket waiting to run the ball or hand off. And unfortunate for Dieruff, as they just have something going, mistake plagues them and gives the ball back to Pocono Mountain West.
That comes with 2:54 on the clock. Now, the other thing you noticed that Valderrama was not in on that last drive at all. Didn't see if he left the game for any reason, but he was not in any of that drive. Looking to throw, and floats one near side to Preston Green. And Green picks up about 9.5 yards. I mentioned Bray and Preston Green and Monaco, but their wide receivers, Armand Rowland and their tight end Culford, top-notch guys as well.
And when using Caleb Monaco in that running game on the first drive, that opens up that play action because you have to sell out to the run if you're Dieruff's defense. And they do that time, but Bray does a nice job finding Green out in the flat.
From the 42. Monaco dives forward and picks up a couple. It's homecoming here at Pocono Mountain West High School. Game to a 2 o'clock start. Also SATs. One reason why we don't have one of our student reporters on the sidelines. Everyone's taking SATs. It's a big thing on a Saturday in October.
Always the first Saturday in October. There's always that big SAT for all the juniors.
We're up to 35 student reporters as part of our team. The majority of them taking SATs today. Couldn't make the trip up. Study's more important, for sure. Again, Monaco just continues to dominate every time he takes the ball.
And as we talk about Caleb Monaco and the yards he's able to gain, you have to talk about also the offensive line and the way they're able to open up some holes right now against this Husky defense. They're giving him a lot of space and a lot of room to run. That's what is allowing him to not. He's not getting hit 5 yards down the field. Is the first time he's receiving contact.
From the 32, Bray going to throw and has a receiver. Hangs on to a good job there by Tyler Crawford.
Bray doing a nice job just moving the ball around. He also had Preston Green out in the flat open as well off that play action. Offensive line giving him a lot of time, a lot of protection where he can look downfield and just survey that defense and find where he wants to throw the ball. And he's putting it where he needs to for his offensive players to catch.
Inside 40 seconds here in the opening quarter, 7-0 in favor of Pocono Mountain West. And they will attack on the ground, see if they can get something going again, but a lot of white jerseys flying in there. That's the first yards lost by number 1, Monaco.
And it was his counterpart on the other side, number 1, Carlo Saba, defensive end, who was the first one to apply pressure and get him in the backfield to hold him up before he could get some help from his teammates.
Only scoring of the game came on a 40-yard touchdown run by Caleb Monaco as the Horn sounds here in the first quarter from Pocono Mountain West High School. We'll be back with more of the D11sports.com Game of the Week presented by St. Luke's Sports Medicine.
Concussions are serious. 3 million sport, recreation, and auto accident-related concussions happen each year. 20% of high school athletes who play contact sports will suffer a concussion during the season. St. Luke's is the region's leader in assessing, managing, and treating concussions in athletes and non-athletes of all ages. Our multi-specialty teams of experts collaborate to care for you using the latest treatment options. Don't play head games, take concussion seriously. Call St. Luke's to schedule an appointment with one of our concussion experts.
St. Luke's Orthopedic Care. Extraordinary care in motion.
Back here, quarter number 2, as we get ready to get this one started. Dieruff Huskies, their starting lineup defensively. And, they can be tested. We saw it, in the front with, Sato and Laura and Shakif, trying to deal with number 1 and Caleb Monaco. But, they're going to have those guys, each and every time, being tested. And I think that's key, not only now, but a little bit later on when we get towards the third quarter as well.
And I think that's where we're going to see the difference come in. Not so much in these first 2 quarters, but in the third quarter, later in the third, early in the fourth, which team gets worn down a little bit quicker. You see a lot of subbing going on both sides defensively, but offensively you usually just have your 5 offensive linemen, maybe with 1 or 2 subs. They usually don't get that break, and a lot of them are playing both ways. So which team is better conditioned late in the game, I think, is what's going to help determine the winner.
So 3rd down and 10. Bray's going to throw middle part of the field. That was intercepted. He threw it in a bunch of white jerseys, and coming up with the INT was Escobalas. And Dieruff in business. And then a flag thrown in late at the end of that play.
The return to the 35-yard line.
And we also have a Pocono Mountain West player down on the field. So Bray set back there, was looking for his receiver, Dion Marshall, coming across the middle. But Escobalas did a nice job just sitting back, reading the quarterback's eyes, and undercuts that route and gets a little bit of nice blocking in front of him. But Kayla Monaco coming across, making the tackle and forcing him out of bounds, getting the ball back to Dieruff and thwarting that drive by Pocono Mountain West, which is going to be key for Dieruff. They need to get something going on this drive to get some momentum going their way.
Obviously, concern is the injury down on the field. Right now, scoring came at the 5:28 mark of quarter number 1. Caleb Monaco went 40 yards, and it was all him on that opening drive to make it 7-0. Vito Nandiello had a fumble recovery after a bad snap to Mark Castro. That came at the 2:54 mark of the first quarter, and that led to this drive before Eric Escobalas comes up with the INT of Lawson Bray on a 3rd down and 10. Now, obviously, for West, your concern right now is, your tight end and defensive end in Dylan Colford. The injuries that they've had so far, you don't want to continue to add those as you're finally getting healthy, and that's one of the players you definitely need here.
Correct, and I think that you miss him more defensively than you do offensively. He's been applying a lot of pressure from his defensive end spot for Pocono Mountain West today. So getting him back healthy, again, was going to help more defensively, but for the most part, just getting him healthy for the rest of the season is what has to be their focus.
So underway here in quarter number 2.
You'll notice the penalty that came in late in the game, late in the play there, was against Dieruff, which pushes them back for a personal foul.
Looking to throw, and that one well overthrown. I don't think getting out of the box right away was Jaden Booth.
It looked like Pocono Mountain West defenders did a nice job of holding him up and getting contact on him, breaking him off his route, not allowing him to run free. But again, the one thing to take notice to is this Pocono Mountain West front four applying pressure to Castro every time he drops back and to throw the ball. He's not getting it off without being hit first.
Second down 10. The ball sits at the 21-yard line. Here comes some pressure. Just gets that one off, but Naniello came up with a huge hit to prevent that one from being caught.
Dieruff tries to bring the screen pass in. One way to counteract that quick and aggressive pass rush of Pocono Mountain West is to let them come and run a screen behind it, but you can't run that if you don't have anybody picking up the next level, and that time it was Vito Nadiallo, who was sitting there waiting for it and comes up and delivers a big hit to knock the ball away from Rodriguez.
And just like that, it's third down and 10 here for the Huskies. Getting sitting at their own 21-yard line. Looking to scramble, trying to see if he can earn something here, but Preston Green never gave him that opportunity as he tosses him out of bounds.
Not a good drive there for Dieruff. They weren't able to get anything going. Again, as you mentioned before, still seeing the offense out there without Alejandro Valderrama. Not sure if he's going to be back in the mix offensively or if they're just looking to get something else going with Rodriguez.
Yeah, Matt, this is when our student reporters would be down there scrambling and getting our information, but high snap and almost going to get that one was Jonathan Owens, and it'll be picked up and taken to the far side of the field by Isaac Menshaw. And great field position again, short field here for Pocono Mountain West.
And that's been the key. That's been the key all day for Pocono Mountain West offensively. They've had short fields to work with. If they can clean up the mistakes they've made offensively and continue to finish drives, I think that's where you'll see the big difference come for them. Dieruff, however, defensively has been playing pretty solid, has been getting pressure on Bray. Just need to focus a little more on making sure Monaco does not get any free space to run.
And the answer to your question earlier, Valderrama is in the game, and he's playing linebacker, and he's staying there on defense, but we haven't seen him since the opening drive on the offensive side of things. Start things off from the 38-yard line. And pushing their way through down inside the 35 to the 34.
And you're seeing a steady dose of Monaco again. Getting pressure originally was Robert Ramos. He won't get credited with the tackle, but he's the first one to slow down Monaco. Ramos coming at 6'4", 280 pounds. One of the seniors for Dieruff this year.
On the offensive line, you give credit to Brody Miller, Bryce Kohler, Gio Spezia, Sam O'Day, and Jalen Randolph. And then again, here he comes again. Monaco to the far side and breaks a tackle, flag thrown in. First down momentarily.
There is a flag thrown on the play.
I have to think this is coming back for a holding penalty against Pocono Mountain West on the offensive line, just as we were touting their play so far. Maybe that's the reason why they're opening up a few holes.
Yeah, right.
Listen, typically you get called 2, maybe 3 holding calls a game, and there's holding every play. Mm-hmm. So you just take your chances.
Moving back to the 44. I want to thank Mike Del Grosso and his staff for having us up here once again. Our second time here at Pocono Mountain West High School this season.
A little different vantage point today, though, with the leaf color changing and the mountains over there.
We were here back in August. Looking to throw, has a receiver wide open, hangs up there a little too long, and almost coming up with the interception was Jaden Booth.
That's one Booth is not going to be happy about. He had that in his hands, made a nice play, fortunate for him, for Dieruff, that the ball was a little underthrown by Bray. He did have his receiver in number 4 streaking behind the secondary, and Bevon Rowland just underthrown a little bit, allowing Booth to get his hands on it.
Yeah, Rowland was wide open. And with that here, we'll take a timeout. With 8:51 on the clock, only score of the game, Caleb Monaco, 40 yards at the 5:28 mark of quarter number 1. We're here in the second. We've had a couple turnovers as well. One didn't stand. Deion Marshall had the INT, but because of pass interference on a push-off, didn't happen. But Vito Nadiello had a fumble recovery after a bad snap to Mark Castro, and Eric Escobalas had the INT on a third down, Lawson Bray at the 24. But if you're Dieruff right now, Matt, and your coach Lee, have to be a little frustrated right now, is all of a sudden the offense, not being able to move the football.
Yeah, offensively not being able to move the football, but defensively they're keeping them in the game. You talked about those turnovers just there. You take the Deion Marshall turnover away, negated by the pass interference. You have one turnover each, but I think the biggest thing that is probably frustrating Coach Liddy is the fact of the penalties. You had a nice opening drive going. 2 penalties pushed you back and basically shrunk your playbook and now forced you into some things that you just might not do and be comfortable with more often. They were driving the ball with the offense, the pass, or the run and the pass, and they just weren't able to finish off that drive. But defensively, they're doing what they have to do. After that opening drive with Caleb Monaco running the ball down the field, they came right back, and they're really shutting down on Caleb Monaco, not giving him any space.
Bray, middle part of the field, and that one incomplete. And they'll bring up a 4th down after the timeout.
Pass incomplete, 4th and long.
Looking again for TJ Armont. And here comes the punting unit. That one just makes its way through. That's a tough one to field. Those are the ones that are tough to field, Matt. It's coming up at you, and then it's not. And then
I think as you were watching that, it looked like Booth was expecting a bounce, and the ball just died straight on the ground, and he had to reach down. Luckily, he had it with his fingertips, able to corral it in before getting hit by the Pocono Mountain West defender. So saving the Dieruff offense a few yards and setting up their offense to now get a drive going here in the second quarter.
So we see a Dieruff offense come back on the field with 8:39 on the clock.
And just as we were talking about Valderrama, looks like he's back in at running back for Dieruff.
But that line taking care of things once again. Paul St. Omer, a 6'1", 230-pound senior, shows his size. He stands out in the crowd out down there, does he?
He does, and it's not just him. It's all front 4. You have also Rob Xavier, Mendez Reyes, 6'1", 295. Number 40, Jonathan Owens, who Coach was talking about how well he's been playing this year. He's moving to the defensive end spot, vacated by Colford in the injury. He comes in at 6'1", 205.
Reception made by Ryan Shatea.
Then filling in for the movement of Jonathan Owens to defensive end is number 15, Cesar Lewis, 5'11", 190-pound senior. So they're getting a lot of production out of that front 4, which is nice for them because now they don't have to blitz their linebackers. They can let the linebackers play back and just run free without being touched because those front 4 are occupying that offensive line.
And lots of movement and another flag. has, I believe, the third false start on the Huskies this afternoon.
Penalty is a false start on the Huskies.
At least 3.
Third and 8.
And as we talked about that, with the mistakes that Dieruff has made, and for the game to be sitting here at only 7-0, they have to be they have to feel fortunate about that.
This time a timeout taken by the Huskies. You mentioned before, you said, a quick-moving first quarter. The second quarter hasn't been as quick-moving.
No, it hasn't. It's slowed down a little bit, but you're starting to see the chess match taking place between these two coaching staffs and the teams, just making sure they're set up in the right situation, the right play call. Even if it's an incomplete pass or it's not a successful play, they're making sure that they're putting themselves in a position where they have a chance to make something happen.
Hope you're enjoying our coverage of our D11Sports.com Game of the Week, presented by St. Luke's Sports Medicine. Al Carlo, Matt Evancho with you. Our student reporters are busy doing their studies today with their SATs. We'll be back at it next week with Southern Lehigh at Penn Argyle. Then we'll have Liberty and Whitehall, and finish things off at Notre Dame with Wilson and Notre Dame over the next 3 weeks. It's part of our first year doing our live streaming. And speaking of our live streaming, and speaking of D11Sports.com, up to 35 student reporters out in the field. And last night we had 7 or 8 games covered by our student reporters. We saw the 700th win from Phillipsburg, New Jersey. The State Lions got their 700th win. So Jason Roeder got his 100th win as a head coach. So some big milestones, last night as well. And our reporters are out there doing a great job, Matt.
They are, and it's always nice. I was at the Easton game watching my son and watching them play Freedom, but to be able to sit there and look at Twitter between plays and catch up on all the games taking place throughout the Lehigh Valley, it's so nice. You're not just getting updates on scores. You're seeing the scoring plays. You're seeing just reporting about what's going on, the feel of the game. You're just getting a lot more coverage than we've had in the past.
So, looking to throw this one. And receiver gets tangled up, and there is an interception on the play. And it's taken there by Tyler Armand. And there's no flags, right?
There was no flag. There was definitely a lot of contact. A lot of contact between the Pocono Mountain West defender and the Dieruff offensive player, but no flag was called.
I think everyone kind of stopped. They thought it was going to be called, so Armand comes out with the INT, another interception, and another turnover.
And as you watch that happen, that you have to wonder if the official looked at it and just saw the ball well overthrown. Armand was the only player close to it on the field. So you have to wonder if they just decided there was no chance.
Let's see. False start. Panthers. Penalty. False start. This time, the Panthers. 5-yard penalty. First and 15.
So the penalties continue to be tacked on. And we get a chance after this play, when we get an opportunity, those 6A standings we'll talk about a little bit, because they're getting a little interesting. And taking this one, flying through the defense, was Isaac Menshaw.
Coach McKell spoke about this in the beginning, about having these players back, able to get Isaac the ball with some speed sweeps, and also put Monaco on the wing as well. And they're utilizing number 40, Jonathan Owens, at the running back position. He brings a different skill set to that running back position, being a little bit bigger, does more of a power running for Pocono Mountain West.
Monaco was trying to bust to the outside, but did get a chance as he went right into Darryl Richett.
As Monaco came around and took the handoff, he looked like he wanted to cut up, but then found there was no space there, and at that point it was just a little too late to get around the block on the edge.
Loss for the Panthers. Third and 11.
Clock winding down, 5:32 and counting. Opening half of football. And Monaco has some space and just somehow gets through 3 or 4 defenders, just slides right through them.
12 yards. First down, Panthers.
You have to look at that and you're thinking 3rd and long. It definitely looks like a passing situation for Pocono Mountain West, but they trust the running game in Caleb Monaco and what he's able to do. He's able to elude just enough tackles to get the yardage for the first down.
Ball sits at the 18, 7-0 your score if you're just joining us here on D11sports.com. Monaco with a 40-yard touchdown, looking to throw. And that one is taken away. Another interception, the 3rd of the game, and this one returned here for the Huskies by Jaden Booth.
It's been the turnover issues for both teams right now. Just not able to connect on some of these pass plays.
Dieruff, 1st and 10 from the 50.
So that comes at 4:59. Armand had his interception at 6:47. It's the 3rd interception in this quarter. And you mentioned before, if you're looking at Coach Liddy, he's saying, you know what, we're not playing the best right now, but we're not at this at all. It's 7-0. And if you're looking at Coach McCarroll, he's like, we were moving the ball effectively, but now all of a sudden a couple turnovers, and we find ourselves in a position having played defense to keep it a 7-0 game.
And it's important for Pocono Mountain West if they can get a stop here. Still 5 minutes left in the quarter, so there's a lot of time, but they obviously don't want to allow Dieruff to get anything going offensively. If they can get the ball back, and they get the ball back at the start the 3rd quarter, they can set up a two nice drives to try to bust this game open.
I think the last thing you want to have here is a delay of game after a change of possession. That
Yeah, it looked like Dieruff was just getting a little slow to line up for that offensive play. Coming out of the change of possession.
So Castro, 1st and 15. Toss this one back. Take a look at the throw. Popped as he throws it. Hangs up there, incomplete. As they were looking downfield for Josh Wynn. But Javon Rodriguez got hit hard on the play.
And it was that defensive front from Pocono Mountain West applying that pressure, not bringing linebackers. They tried to toss pass, and he had 2 receivers open, but that pressure applied by Pocono Mountain West just didn't give him enough time to set his feet and deliver a pass that was that could have been caught a little bit easier.
Matt, did they go back to that a little later on?
I think that's something we definitely will see a little bit later on. As you see, Escobalos was there open as well.
And getting some positive yards back is Rodriguez. Again, Rodriguez came into the game with 27 carries for $175 and 2 scores.
And as we see on the far sideline, the training staff, the athletic training staff of Dieruff, working with Valderrama, making sure he's healthy and he's okay to come back in before they send him back to the coaching staff.
Again, we've seen him in on defense. But offensively, we haven't seen him since the opening drive, I do not believe. 3rd and 6 from the 49. Maybe he came in for one play, and that one a little bit too up high. He was looking for Ryan Shatea.
And while the ball was a little high, I still think the receiver could have gone up and given a better effort for the ball, as it was probably still going to be out of his reach. But you never know what's going to happen. If he could go up and bring that in, that would have been a big turning point for Dieruff.
Well, that 4th and 6 from the 49. This is a big call in the game here.
We call back to the first quarter. They did go for it on 4th and 3. I think that they have to feel they have something here that they can use.
Well, they have that.
And that's one thing. And they nearly got them previously.
Yes, they
with
did.
That as well, as if we think back. So now you put them in a 4th and 2, 4th and 1.
Now a little bit more manageable.
Absolutely. Just outside the 40 going in.
Well, Pocono Mountain West has had great field position this entire game. So it'll be a 4th down and 1 from the 41. Castro going to throw near side, and they'll convert on the 1st down as the reception is made to Booth.
Booth is complete. First down, Huskies.
And you see again Dieruff just consistently going with that short passing game, high percentage passes for Castro, allowing his receivers just to run 5 yards downfield, turn around, push the defender off a little bit, come back to the ball. Easy pitch and catch for the receiver and quarterback to gain 5, 6, 7 yards.
And when you have Rodriguez back there, and he's thrown the ball 25 times this year, you could always expect a trick play, or him even taking a snap. Down the sideline, and that one a little bit too off the mark to Josh Wynn as that sails out of bounds.
Just a little wide on the field. That's one Castro will want to look at. All he needs to do is just give his receiver a chance down the sideline. He had Wynn behind the defensive back. If he puts that inbounds a little more, just downfield, gives his receiver a chance to get underneath the ball and run under it for a catch.
So 2nd down 10, we're looking at the 4:09 mark. Only one touchdown scored. Caleb Monaco from 40 yards. Seems like an eternity ago. Came at the 5:28 mark of the 1st quarter. This from a 32. And never a chance as they gave that one quickly to Rodriguez. And he was zipped down.
And busting through the offensive line was Cesar Lewis from his defensive tackle spot. Looks like we have a 5-yard face mask against Pocono Mountain West.
Penalty flags thrown. Face mask on the Panthers. 5-yard penalty.
So Panthers making this one a little bit easier here for the Huskies.
Second and 10.
So basically replayed it down, and it almost comes down to they had a 5-yard loss on the play, then the 5-yard penalty puts them right back at the 10-yard marker.
4 receivers, 2 split either side. Popped as he throws that one, but completes the play. And the pass is good enough for the 1st down. Nadiello is there for the tackle on Ryan Shatea.
And I have to tell you, Castro he's stepping into these throws. He knows the hits are coming. He's just staying in there, staying tough and staying strong. And that time it was an unblocked defender coming off the edge that he saw right in his face the entire time and still delivered the ball to his receiver.
Yeah, Castro 6'1", 160, but boy, he took a lick but delivered it. And now down to the 3:15 mark. So the Huskies doing a good job of milking the clock and driving down the field. This is their best possession since their opening drive.
Not quite sure what happened.
Another
on
false
this play.
start.
5-yard penalty. 3rd and 6.
And just as you're moving it forward, you have that happen, moving you right back.
Well, timeout situation if you're wanting both teams with 2.
I think if you have to be careful here. It's been a long time.
Looking to throw. He gets hit again as he throws. That one is overthrown. Castro sees the deck one more time.
Pass overthrown. Incomplete. 4th and 6.
Did a nice job stepping up in the pocket as he saw the pressure coming from the edge. Receivers were breaking short and then tried to get deep for him, but just Castro puts a little bit too far.
So they already have converted on 4th down this afternoon. Here at 4th down and about 5.5. Castro That one incomplete. Again, not having much time at all, Matt, to throw the ball the last 3 times.
No, he hasn't had much time at all. You're right. And visibly getting frustrated for that as well. I mean, you're taking hits every time you drop back to throw the ball. That's going to take its toll on you at some point.
So the second quarter has been all about INTs. Escobalas for Dieruff, TJ Armand for Pocono Mountain West, and Jaden Booth for Dieruff. 3 interceptions. Have stalled a couple drives. Again, that's the second time that Dieruff has been that deep into Pocono Mountain West territory.
You have to think coming out here, Pocono Mountain West offensively is going to rely us on Caleb Monaco and just give him the ball over and over and try to grind this out, move the clock, and then put yourself possibly in a position to get some points.
Yeah, with Monaco, one good run can get you, 50 yards or so. And you have a couple timeouts to see what you want to do once you get across midfield if you do so.
Correct. And after that opening drive, we really have not seen that steady dose of Monaco like we did on the opening drive.
You're not going to see it here. Bray going to come in the near side. That one incomplete. Now all of a sudden you got to be a little careful because Dieruff can get the football back depending on what happens here on this play.
And now you're 3rd and long, and potentially, and as you said, you have 2 timeouts for Dieruff. If they can get the ball back, they still have plenty of time to make something happen.
Third down. Floats it near side to Monaco. Monaco trying to make something happen, but cannot.
And I know it's early in the game, late in the first half. However, you just saved Dieruff a timeout.
Mm-hmm.
By going out of bounds, you allow the clock to stop and let Dieruff set up their punt return and get a chance to get the ball back and potentially good field position with just a little under 2 minutes left in the half.
It's the first punt, no, maybe the second of the game. Jaden Booth standing his own 36-yard line. And the Huskies with great field position at about the 44 with 1:42 on the clock, down by the score of 7-0 and 2 timeouts.
And now we have a flag against Pocono Mountain West, it looks like, right here on the near sideline.
Glad you could join us here on D11Sports.com Game of the Week, presented by St. Luke's Sports Medicine, Pocono Mountain West High School. We're in the North Division. The Huskies came in with a record of 2-4. Pocono Mountain West came in with a record of 1-5. But in that 6A classification, we mentioned prior to the game that they're still in the mix and they're trying to, battle through and see if they can get above Liberty or Stroudsburg over the next 4 weeks for them, if you include this contest. From the 44, Castro, near side, and that one incomplete. Looking in the direction again of Wynn.
That has to provide a little bit of confidence for Castro, the fact that he was able to drop back and not get hit for probably the first time in this game.
Clock stops at 1:37 here in the first half. And they'll try to do something on the ground. Nothing there. That ball was loose. And 3rd down and long.
So a nice job of the Dieruff defense getting the ball back to their offense, but still just struggling offensively against this defensive front.
So clock winding down, 1:10 and counting. Again, both teams with a pair of timeouts remaining. Well, the last thing you want to do is giving them a 5-yard penalty and move them up 5 yards.
Yeah, Dieruff has been pretty good with that hard count today. It's the third time they've got them to jump. Only twice they've come off sides, however. But able to put themselves now, instead of 3rd and 10, 3rd and 5, where you can definitely, with their short passing game, you can convert this. And then you're looking at a different situation.
And just as you say that, all the way back, that's the second time or third time we've seen that happen. Nadiello had a fumble recovery off a bad snap earlier.
And now Dieruff has elected to take a timeout. Not sure if that's correct. Not sure why they would have taken a timeout to stop the clock.
Ooh.
Unless you're putting your offense on the field to try to make something happen.
Which
you could have let the clock run out or at least force Pocono Mountain West to call a timeout.
Yeah, so 35 ticks on the clock. Seven nothing your score. Caleb Monaco with a 40-yard touchdown run that came back at the 5:28 mark of quarter number 1. This becomes a big play here. Any kind of run back. So the clock will be at 28 seconds. And again, you look at number 1. For the most part, Monaco gets a good run, and then you decide what you're going to do from there. If Monaco doesn't, then just kind of going to lock them up by the score of 7-0.
Yeah, at this point with Dieruff with one timeout, using that timeout will not be beneficial to you at all. Just not sure why call that timeout going into 4th down.
From their own 38-yard line. Bray going to float this one to Monaco, and Monaco goes nowhere.
I think they're just going to elect to let the clock run out.
So we've seen a number of turnovers in the first half, especially in this second quarter. A fumble recovery by Nadiello. Escobalis with an INT, Armand with an INT, and Jaden Booth with an INT. As the first half comes to a close here from Pocono Mountain West High School. You're watching our D11Sports.com Game of the Week presented by St. Luke Sports Medicine. More after this, 7-0 your score.
Hall of Fame pitcher Steve Carlton knows what it takes to exceed expectations. He knows what it means to be part of a team that rises above the competition. He knows a champion. Steve Carlton knows St. Luke's Orthopedic Care.
So you're hurting. Is it your back or your knee? Old football injury? Get the rehabilitation you need. In most cases, you won't need a script from your doctor. In Pennsylvania and New Jersey, a law called Direct Access lets you see a physical therapist without a prescription. And if your insurance requires a prescription, physical therapy at St. Luke's will work with your doctor to get you the care you need that is covered. Let us speed up your recovery. We're in your neighborhood. Call Physical Therapy at St. Luke's.
St. Luke's Orthopedic Care. Extraordinary care in motion.
Are you searching for a place where you belong? Where your fitness matters? Regardless of what shape you're in, St. Luke's Fitness and Sports Performance Centers have a professional team that will help you meet or exceed your fitness goals. With locations throughout the region and nationally recognized fitness experts, you'll become a member of a supportive fitness community. We call it Extraordinary Fitness. Visit us online to start your free 7-day membership and let us help you thrive.
So you're hurting. Is it your back or your knee? That old football injury? Get the rehabilitation you need. In most cases, you won't need a script from your doctor. In Pennsylvania and New Jersey, a law called Direct Access lets you see a physical therapist without a prescription. And if your insurance requires a prescription, physical therapy at St. Luke's will work with your doctor to get you the care you need that is covered. Let us speed up your recovery. We're in your neighborhood. Call Physical Therapy at St. Luke's.
First ever Pocono Mountain West Homecoming King. It has been a week of hard work and lots of fun for our 8 pairs of Queen and King candidates. Each pair participated in a series of events in order to earn points towards becoming a member of the Homecoming Court. The first of these events was Your 2 Cents Worth, a coin drive to benefit Family Promise of Monroe County. The total amount raised was over $1,000. Great job, candidates! And thank you to all who contributed. On Wednesday night, the candidates participated in Games Night, in which they gained points through a performance, relay races, a trivia contest, and other games with their teams of students representing all grades at Pocono Mountain West. Thursday morning, the student body cast their vote. Friday afternoon, the pairs participated in musical Walk of Fame during the pep rally to earn more points for their score. Any student who attended the fall ball was able to play games to receive a second opportunity to vote for homecoming royalty. It has been a great week and has gotten a lot of students involved here at Pocono Mountain West. A school-wide effort was put forth to make this homecoming competition as fair and fun as possible. Now, let's meet the 2019 Queen and King candidates. Azani Gordon and Anthony Simone. Marissa Kane and Joey Murphy. Paige Connect and Lawson Bray. Selena Malone and Maurice Whittle. Jenna McHugh and Stephen McKenna. Gabriela Quinones and Giovanni Spezia. Taylor Vogel and Preston Green. And Caroline Werrick and Caleb Monaco. We would also like to recognize 3 former Pocono Mountain West homecoming queens who are in attendance with us this afternoon. The 2009 homecoming queen, Samantha DeLuca, is escorted by her husband, Angelo. Sam is a 2014 graduate of Penn State University with a degree in Rehabilitation and Human Services and a minor in Special Education. She is also a 2018 graduate of Misericordia University with a Master's of Science in Occupational Therapy. Samantha works as a full-time occupational therapist with older adults at a skilled nursing facility. And she was just married on December 1st of last year. Congratulations, Sam and Angela. The 2013 homecoming queen, Andrea Cardoni, is escorted by her father, Keith. Andrea is a 2018 graduate of Drexel University with degrees in secondary education and theater performance. She is currently contracted with Enchantment Theater Company, where she tours the tri-state area with the children's show Beast in the Bayou, a derived version of Beauty and the Beast. Andrea is also a teaching artist at the Walnut Street Theater, America's oldest theater, where she brings acting workshops to Philadelphia schools. The 2017 homecoming queen is Derek Smith, and she is escorted by her brother Aiden Hilton. Derek currently attends King's College, and she is majoring in pre-medical biology. And now, what you've all been waiting for, the 2019 homecoming court. The 4th runner-ups are Gabriela Quinones and Giovanni Spezia. The national prize is presented by the Assistant Principal, Mr. Richards. Your third runner-ups are Caroline Werrick and Kayla Monaco. The sacks and flowers will be presented by Assistant Principal Mr. Richards. The second runner-ups are Talia Malone and Maurice Whittle. Their sacks and flowers will be presented by Assistant Principal Mrs. Evancho. The first runners-up are Taylor Vogel and Preston Green. The sacks and flowers will be presented by our principal, Dr. Ray. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The 2019 Pocono Mountain West Homecoming Queen and King are Marissa Kane and they are being crowned by 2017 Homecoming Queen Derek Smith. And 2015 Homecoming Queen April. Congratulations to all of our Queen and King candidates, and thank you to all 16 candidates for making this homecoming week a success.
So the Queen and King announced Marissa Kane, and for the first time ever, they have a King and Joel Murphy. It's homecoming here at Pocono Mountain West High School. We're at the half, 7-0 your score. Aldi Carlo alongside Matt Evancho. And Matt, first things first, as you're looking down on the field and you see the homecoming court, what you see is a bunch of starting players, including your starting quarterback, your starting tailback, and a couple starting linemen. How tough is that for a coach, number one, for these players, number two, and a 7-0 game?
And that's the thing. It's a 7-0 game. This is a tight game. By no means is it favoring Pocono Mountain West. And you have your quarterback and your star running back out there, and you need to make adjustments. So I know Coach McCarroll talked about that a little bit before the game. There's nothing he could do about it. He's playing along and trying to be as supportive as he can. But he needs to get those players back in there because they need to make some adjustments and get out here and make some and move forward in the second half, where they kind of went stagnant there at the end of the first half.
Well, let's talk about the first half a little bit and what you saw. I mean, a lot of turnovers, a lot of penalties. Concerns for both coaches going into the locker room.
And if you take the penalties and you take the turnovers out of the equation, you go back to the mistakes that we're making. You know, Dieruff offensively not able to move the ball very much at all. They had two drives where they were able to threaten into the end zone for the first drive and then the last drive, but it's their inability to finish right now. That's what's plaguing them offensively. They're just not able to finish, and Castro is finding himself on the ground when he drops back the pass just way too often. On the other side, Bray just missing receivers a little bit here and there, some balls on the ground. He just needs to settle down and get back into that, and I think Pocono Mountain West offensively went away from Caleb Monaco for a good portion of the middle half of that half. So they need to get back to getting him the ball, getting them where they have two backs in the backfield, get a lead blocker for him, go back to those unbalanced sets, and just let him run the ball, let him take some of the pressure off of Bray and those receivers.
Well, speaking of the players, Bray's out here taking snaps. Obviously, not going to walk to the locker room when there's 4 minutes left in the half or whatever it is. He's going to take his snaps here with, one of his linemen, so he can, get ready for the second half. At the same time, Alejandro Valderrama, we didn't see him as many carries in the first half. Came in leading the team with carries with 41 for 155 yards. Javon Rodriguez had most of the carries, 27 carries for 175. Is it something that we'll see change, or something that we'll see more throwing here for Dieruff in the second half?
And talking to Coach Liddy at the beginning of the game, he said they wanted to be about 50-50, run the pass. I think we're seeing why. They're just struggling with that offensive line against this defensive front. So I don't know if it's a matter of, is Valderrama healthy? Is he going to get the carries, or is it going to be Rodriguez? They're just finding no running room against this defensive front of Pocono Mountain West. So as that plays out, Coach Liddy and his staff could be looking at, well, okay, let's just try to solidify one phase of this. Let's solidify our pass protection, keep Castro off the ground, and let him find his receivers downfield and make plays that way. They were very successful with their short passing game, and then what they do is they get away from that, and that's when they start to struggle a little bit.
We talked about it, in the beginning of the game. 1-5, 2-4, and you're like, wait, what do you mean they have a chance? This is a playoff game for them, and after last night's results, the district standings in the 6 classification have jumped and changed. Nazareth stays at the top at number 1. Freedom bounces number 2 with the big win against Easton. Obviously, that was a big victory for them. Easton now drops number 3, followed by Parkland.
And I think when you look at those top 4, as you said, Freedom leapfrogging Easton there. Nazareth was in the number 1 going into that week. I think the team that most, if you talk to most coaches in the area, the team that they're most fearful of is that Parkland team right now, and how they're getting healthy. The play of their quarterback, sophomore quarterback, he's getting more comfortable as the season goes.
Yep.
He's getting more comfortable. He's throwing the ball very well. So I think you have to look at them. They had those 2 early losses. I think they're going to bounce back as they get healthy, and they're going to be a tough out in that district playoff.
Northampton sits at number 5. Northampton's only loss was to Parkland opening night. They've won 6 in a row, and they stay at top of the North Division. They're at 6-1, followed by Stroudsburg at 6. This is where it starts getting interesting. 7 is Emmaus. Emmaus coming up short to Central Catholic, who's starting to play a little bit better. We saw them last week against Easton. And then sitting at number 8 right now is Liberty at 2-5. Dieruff's at 2-4 behind them. Then Pocono Mountain West, Allen, and Pleasant Valley. But those 4 teams fighting for the 1 spot.
And I think you have to think Emmaus is going to do enough to keep themselves in the playoff position that they are. So it comes down to really you're looking at Liberty, Dieruff, Pocono Mountain West, and you're looking at Allen. When you look at the schedules of what each one of them have left,
Liberty has Central, Whitehall, and Freedom,
and that's a tough schedule of 3 games. You talk about Central Catholic; they're getting better and better. You take away that game against Easton, the 2-half game against Easton. They played a fantastic first half, and they came out and didn't play very well on Sunday in that second half. But then you take into consideration the fact they have that. Then they have Whitehall. Whitehall's while they're sitting there at 0-7. That's not indicative of how they're playing. They played Parkland pretty tough last night for most of the game and just faded off. And then they finish up with Freedom, and that's always one of those games. Liberty could be going into that Freedom game. They very well could be 4-5, and it doesn't matter.
That's right.
Freedom's coming in with 1 loss. They're coming in with 5 losses. It's a toss-up game.
Yeah, exactly.
When you look at it, it always is. And whenever the team's favored in that game, it always seems like they end up losing.
The other team.
And I hate to say that because Coach Roeder heard that. He's probably the one that the most he's been the favorite the last couple of years, and they've come up short a couple of those years, and I know that bothers him a great deal because you don't want to lose that inner-city rivalry.
Not at all. And you mentioned Whitehall. Whitehall we'll see against Liberty. In that game, they're 0-7. But in that 5A classification, Whitehall picks up 2 wins. And again, Whitehall's schedule is a little interesting, too. It's not easy by any means, but, they have Nazareth coming up and Liberty and then Northampton. You win 2 of those 3, and all of a sudden you got 2 wins, and that kind of put you in the in the mix in that 5A classification, which right now is led by Southern Lehigh. Southern Lehigh losing last night for the first time and losing to Northwestern.
And what a game that was. They end up in, give credit to Southern Lehigh and Coach Tolman and his staff. They score late in the game, and it's a matter of, hey, we're going for two. We're not going to try to play defense and get the ball back. We're going to tie this up right now. They went for two. Northwestern had a very good defensive call. They were able to flush Vogler out of the pocket, and then Henry came up with a big play, making the tackle short of the goal line.
So the 5A classification is Southern Lehigh, East Stroudsburg South, and followed by Pocono Mountain East and Wallenpaul Pack. 4A classification as we get ready for the start of the second half in this one. Bethlehem Catholic at 5-2, Pottsville at 6-1, Northwestern 6-1, and Saucon Valley at 5-1, followed by Central Catholic.
And what a group this is. You have 8 teams. You're going down. You have 9 total teams in the district. 8 of them make it. And again, once you get past those top 4, it's open game. I think Central Catholic, based on their schedule, probably even with a couple losses, they're okay. They're probably solidified in. Now it comes down to Blue Mountain, Lehighton, Wilson, Bangor. Any one of those teams could end up the 6th seed.
The loss by Bangor last night to Palisades, and by the score. What did that tell you?
That was a shock. And not that Palisades was able to come out and win. I watched Palisades play against Wilson earlier in the year, and they have some playmakers. They have the ability to play with any team, and I think Coach Musa has had them moving in that direction. It's getting them used to a new system, getting them used to new coaching staff. It's different than what Coach Ronalds did, and that's what happens when you bring in new staff. So I think what you're starting to see is the players buy into the system, the players buy into what they're trying to do, and use that, and they're becoming more confident and more comfortable in the system. I think you're going to see them continue to improve as the next couple of weeks happen.
And in the 3A class, we saw North Schuylkill earlier this year, only lost to Wyomissing. They have now 6-1, Pine Grove 6-1, Jim Thorpe 6-1, Tamaqua at 5-2, Notre Dame at 5-2, and Salisbury after a loss to Northern Lehigh at 4-3.
And that's the big one. Looking at last night, I think that was the one score that really shocked me. And Northern Lehigh just pulled away from Salisbury. Salisbury coming off that upset win of Notre Dame by 2 the week before. And then Northern Lehigh, Coach Tout, we talked about it when we saw him earlier in the year. They have a very talented team. But to see how they were able to take apart and beat Salisbury the way they did, in the fashion that they did, was just a shock.
So with that, kind of analyze what's going on here on this Saturday. And if you're watching us here live from Pocono Mountain West, Saucon Valley also taking on Wilson, and that one a nail biter, and we get a final on that one. We'll share that with you as well. And we start up the third quarter on the return by Isaac Menshaw. And you mentioned it, they get the football to start the third quarter.
And this looks eerily similar to how Pocono Mountain West started the game, going in this direction from about this spot on the field, starting field position. See if they come back with those 2 back sets, getting Monaco behind his offensive line, behind a fullback, get a full head of steam coming forward, and just ride him down towards the end zone.
So again, only scored Caleb Monaco 40 yards at the 5:28 mark. Other than that, as Matt said a couple times, kind of went away from number 1 for a while in that latter part of the second half. And then they will start things off with number 1. Gets across the
Caleb Monaco battles for 3 yards, 2nd and 7.
and brings up a 2nd down and 7 or so. If you're enjoying our coverage here of our D11sports.com Game of the Week, presented by St. Luke Sports Medicine, Al DiCarlo, Matt Evancho. Again, if you're looking for our student reporters on the sideline, it was SAT day today, so a lot of them not available. We'll be back in the action, Penn Argyl and Southern Lehigh next Saturday afternoon, and we'll have them back up to speed. We'll have, I believe, 3 students reporters on the sidelines from Penn Argyl for that contest. Today's game being produced by SFBN, the Sports Fan Base Network. I want to thank Ari Bloomstein, the CEO, Josh Bellman, Sean Kelly, Dave Robert, and Ryan Terzo for being part of today's contest. Dave Micah not with us as well, out and about. Third down and 2. On the ground, Monaco tries to get outside, and he gets taken down on the play. And great job defensively flying in there was Escobalas.
You see a lot of energy out of the Dieruff sideline on that play. The big stop on third down. His coaches always talk about coming out in the third quarter. What are you going to do? How are you going to set things up? And it's that opening drive, the plays of that opening drive, which matter the most. How do those adjustments play out for what you went into the locker room doing?
Well, 4th down and 2. And now they'll definitely punt the football.
And we see the penalties plaguing both teams right now starting the second half. They had a definite fourth and short, a manageable 4th and short, but now they definitely don't have an option to go for it this time.
Yeah, see Coach McCarroll on the sidelines. It wasn't pleased on that play as well, but that's still, with a 7-0 game, Matt, that ball, being where it's at and going for it on 4th down is tough.
It is, and I think if they were able to pick that up, that would have been great for them. But I think early in this half, you're up 7-0. If you don't get that, you're really in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So add insult to injury. You get a 5-yard penalty for a false start. Now another 5 yards on a delay of game.
5-yard penalty, 4th and 12.
Huskies should get good field position here. As they go for the block, they don't get it. And picking that one up and returning is Jaden Booth. So we see the Husky offense come out for the first time here in the second half. Okay, you see a lot, you mentioned before, a lot of pop on that sideline, the far sideline.
Pocono Mountain West had real nice coverage there, as you said. Dieruff coming after the block, trying to set that up. Isaac Mensah was downfield and able to make a play on Booth and get him to the ground because he looked like he had some space in front of him.
Man, look at Paul St. Armor, number 99. He stands out. We said it before in the first half. He just stands out in the crowd. Wasn't here for the first game, against Easton, but he definitely makes a difference on that line.
Oh, he absolutely does, and I think, he's making his presence known here as he's coming in late in the season.
Castro on the handoff, and about a 9-yard pickup.
And there we get a good look at Rodriguez again for Dieruff, as we're still waiting to see Valderrama make his way back into the offense more regularly.
Yeah, if that's any indication, I would think he's not playing on the offensive side of things, considering he went in the locker room. And they stayed on the ground, and they will move the chains for the first down. Diving forward is Rodriguez.
And it's not that Dieruff was not able to move the ball in the first half. They were able to move the ball. They struggled a little bit in the running game against this defensive front. You kind of see some adjustments being made where they're able to slow down that defensive front, open up a few more holes for Rodriguez and Castro. It's not that. It was the fact they weren't able to finish. So that's the key. If they're able to finish these drives off.
Well, they're liking the ground and trying to get something going, and
it looks like the
ball was stripped. Yeah, Rodriguez lost the ball. And coming out of that pile, is that Preston Green?
Looked like it was number 5, Preston Green, coming up with it. Didn't see where the ball came out. I just saw Rodriguez getting pushed back without the ball.
Right.
And you're just kind of wondering where it went. But we know now it went into Preston Green's hands.
So that comes with 8:12 on the clock. Another turnover. The second quarter, there was a fumble recovery and 3 INTs. A huge stick on the far side.
Panthers stop, loss of 3, 2nd and 13.
Dieruff brings a blitz from their linebacker number 45. He comes through untouched and takes down Monaco in the backfield for the loss of 4. But again, seeing a lot of momentum, a lot of energy on that Dieruff sideline.
7:36 on the clock, 2nd down and 12. And timeout here for Pocono Mountain West.
I think you need that timeout because I think you had 12 guys on the field for Pocono Mountain West.
All right, Matt, we talked about not having some of your players in at halftime because of the homecoming and really not getting a chance to talk to them. How tough is it to, I know you said you never did it, but he's talking to the other players in the locker room, but he's not talking to these players and then getting them back up to speed or kind of saying, well, you guys keep doing what you're doing. I just had to talk to these guys.
And that's just, it comes down to your coaching staff and making sure everybody's on the same page. And then you get out here on the field, you take the limited amount of time that you have and you just communicate what it is that you were doing. You see a lot of schools with the iPads now with being able to look at different plays from the first half and what they're able to do and then bring out whiteboards. So they still had time to communicate what they needed to do. But you still lose that, having a whole team together and them all getting the same exact message that you want them to have.
On the ground, picked up by Monaco. Monaco weaves through traffic and gets a bunch of that back as he gets across midfield.
And again, it's nothing flashy out of Caleb Monaco. It's just him getting downhill, getting north-south, seeing the holes open up for him and committing to what he sees. And then he's able to break at least one tackle typically and then get quite a bit of yards after contact.
Toss it to the near side. Here's Roland, and he will get the first down, move the chains.
Kind of seeing a different speed out of both teams the second half coming out. They're playing a little bit faster than they did in the first half. Now they kind of see a sense of urgency out of them, knowing that this game very easily could go either way as the clock's winding down, under 7 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah, this is a big drive, really, and defensively, big for Dieruff as well. From the 48, Monaco has space. This is where he's dangerous if he gets through, and picks up about 10 more.
I mean, you're seeing a different speed out of Monaco right now. I think he's hitting the line much faster than he did the first half. Seems like he feels a little bit more comfortable, maybe getting back after that injury, knowing he's healthy, knowing he's ready to go, just giving it a little bit more.
Go 3 receivers, far side, 1 to the near side. And Monaco again cuts through, and there's a flag thrown in. A couple flags, actually.
That didn't look good either. Monaco went down on his own.
Penalty flags thrown.
Yeah, we said he's coming back off that hamstring injury. You'd hate to see anything happen to him again.
Oh, he walks right to the sidelines. Yep. So he is down on the far sideline, attended to. Man, that changes everything here if you're Pocono Mountain West. You're driving downfield with number 1 the whole time, and now he's on the sidelines.
Hey, now it's time for the other guys. They just need to step up and they need to make plays, especially when you're looking at the backup running back, Jaden Bowens, number 39, who's had a lot of reps this year. Yep. In the absence of Monaco.
Yeah, he actually leads the team in rushing coming in. 66 carries for 281. He's averaging 4 yards a carry versus the 8 for Monaco.
I think that's the big thing. You just miss that explosiveness that Monaco has. Bowen's a sophomore at 5'9", 155. He's just not the same running back that Monaco is. He's going to get you positive yards, but you're just not going to have the explosiveness for the big plays.
Here's Bray to throw. Has all the time in the world and connects as a flag thrown in. And still on his feet, driving through, is T.J. Armand.
And kind of think this one's going to come back after a fantastic individual effort after the reception by Armand. Looks like we're going to be bringing us back with a holding call.
Penalty is holding on the Panthers.
The Dieruff player down as well.
Nullify that play and bring it back 10 yards from the spot.
Credit Bray sitting in the pocket very comfortably, finding Armand sitting just behind the linebacker depth.
Well, that's a huge penalty. And they're stretching out. It looks like it's just a cramp on the far side. That's what it looks like from here. But the concern if you're Pocono Mountain West is your starting running back, Caleb Monaco, who is back after a few weeks out with a hamstring. You mentioned it went down on his own, and right now he's sitting on the edge of the bench.
And I think as Coach McCarroll's probably looking at this, it's probably a little bit more important to save him for the rest of the season as opposed to try to push him back into action today if he's just not feeling 100%. You've relied on Bowens and the rest of these guys all season long when he was out. You might as well use the same thing. And he also mentioned the fact of trying to get Johnny Owens some more touches, number 40. So this is an opportunity to get him in there as well.
There's been a number of penalties in this one, no doubt. And again, another penalty here on West.
They're not quite sure why the false start penalty. Just the center snapped the ball when he was ready.
Yeah, right.
Just because the quarterback's ready doesn't mean it's a false start.
Well, first down marker is where? At the 30?
Just looks like 28, 27.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. From their own 38. Here's Bray. Here comes the pressure. Look to the throw, and that one is knocked away. Great job defensively at the last second coming in. It was Josh Wynn.
And Bray does a nice job eluding pressure, getting out to the side, but in finding a receiver downfield. But as you said, Wynn closing in on that quickly to knock the ball away.
So 4:15 remaining in the third quarter. Only one touchdown scored. Came in the first quarter by Monaco from 40 yards. Bray gets popped as he delivers that one, but gets into the hands of Deion Marshall.
And Marshall had some room over the sideline, making some extra moves, and just gets tripped up. But for Pocono Mountain West, gives them some chance to move the ball down, now punt, and try to put Dieruff deep in his own territory. But Bray coming off the field after that hit definitely looks shaken up a little bit.
High snap, and Dieruff's going to get a huge break here. We've seen a couple high snaps against the Huskies, but not to Pocono Mountain West, and that was a high snap delivered to Ezekiel Concepcion. Did a good job of holding on to it, but the Huskies for the first time have a very short field right around the 33-yard line.
It looked like the long snapper thought he was snapping at someone else besides Ezekiel Concepcion, who sits at 5'7". Kind of thought he was 6'3" back there.
I thought you were going Andre Giant like 7'7". I wasn't sure.
But does a nice job of corralling the ball and kind of saving some yardage. Dieruff, if they were in there a little bit quicker, could have scooped that up and made something happen on that play.
So Monaco is out of the game right now, and the pads are coming off, so likely not seeing him the rest of the game. The Huskies down 7-0, get the ball with 3:30 on the clock. Here in the second half, it'll be Castro. All right, just poking himself in there at the last second was Tyler Armand.
And again, you see a lot of pressure by that defensive front, Pocono Mountain West, not giving Castro any kind of room. He's throwing the ball running backwards, not able to come downhill and set his shoulders and put his arm through that. We said on the opening drive, Dieruff seemed like they made some adjustments offensively to slow down this defensive front, but now it looks like they're just picking back up where they left off in the first half.
Out of the gun. And again on the carry was Rodriguez. Gets down inside the 30 or right around the 30-yard line, depending on where they spot this one. As we closing on 3 minutes left in the third quarter in a 7-0 game.
No coach wants to look at moral victories, but if you're Dieruff, you have to look at the fact, well, you know what, we had the ball deep in the territory. Now this is the third time today.
Getting pushed out of bounds is Jaden Booth.
It's just the fact that they need to finish these drives, and they're not able to do that today.
Well, Matt, we mentioned it a couple of times, and more so now. I mean, beginning of the game, when we talked to both coaches, and we talked to Dave Liddy, he said to us, it depends on who's playing, and right now he found himself down 7-0. It's a winnable game. Just put yourself, the offense got to get something going.
Exactly, and I think it's all going to go back to, as we said earlier, it goes back to Mark Castro.
Well, it's a
I think
fourth down.
He needs to come and play a little bit more in the running game, not just the passing game.
Fourth down and about 5. Castro to throw, and he's going to go for it here, and that one incomplete. Just out of the reach of Ryan Chateo. Chateo had his hands on the ball, but couldn't come up with the grab.
Even though, and I think that's something they can build on. They didn't convert. The ball went through his hands, but you have that threat when you need it. That was a well-placed ball by Mark Castro. He put it where his receiver needed it. He just didn't come up with the catch. But you're going to come back to that play. Dieruff's offense will come back to that, and they're going to try to look at that matchup a little bit more out on the perimeter.
Saucon Valley leading 20-13 at the half against Wilson. Good defense here by the Huskies.
Looks like carrying the ball for Pocono Mountain this time is Tymere Shields.
And Valderrama made the stop. So Valderrama playing defense only today. So pickup of just one. Down to 122 here. Reception is made, but not for much gain at all.
I'd like to see the receivers have a little bit more time, push those routes downfield a little bit more. They get caught up there and cut them short, and then just get a 2-yard gain as opposed to possibly a 5 or 6 yard gain.
So both teams' offense now sputtering. 3rd down and 7 from the 32. Bray trying to get something to happen. He's got 3 receivers lined up to the near side. Takes the low snap. He gets popped as he throws that one, and that is incomplete. That may be the biggest hit of the game on Bray. He gets up, and he definitely felt the effects of that one.
He did. Hey, but nice thing is to see him pop back up after the help of the Dieruff player who knocked him down. He comes off with a good attitude, thinking, I just had that guy, just overthrew my guy a little bit. Seeing a lot of energy, though, on both sides of the field today in this second half. Just knowing they're inches away from connecting on a lot of these plays.
This one skips through and just getting that one off. And the positive roll down to about the 25-yard line. So with 28 seconds remaining in the third quarter, it remains 7-0. When Caleb Monaco had that first run a while back, we thought that was going to be maybe the scene setter for the day and get a couple more shots like that. But, when you have, 5 turnovers combined Nariello has a fumble recovery. Escobalas has an INT. DJ Arman has an INT. Jaden Booth has an INT. And Preston Green has a fumble recovery. So throw in that and some crucial penalties at certain situations, and we have ourselves a very tight game, winnable for either team.
It is, and what's nice, again, we talked about these teams, playing meaningful games in October. Now they're going to get in a situation where they're playing not only a meaningful game, but a meaningful fourth quarter in October, where the pressure is going to be on them to make plays.
And they start things with Valderrama. So Valderrama's touches have been limited. That's probably, maybe 5 touches?
Yeah, very limited, especially since the first quarter.
Right,
opening drive has been a force on defense. However, It looks like Dieruff's going to let the clock run out for the fourth quarter.
So 3 complete, 1 to go here from Pocono Mountain West High School. East Penn Conference North Division battle. D11sports.com Game of the Week presented by St. Luke's Sports Medicine. 7-0 back after this.
7, the Dieruff Huskies 0.
Are you searching for a place where you belong? Where your fitness matters? Regardless of what shape you're in, St. Luke's Fitness and Sports Performance Centers have a professional team that will help you meet or exceed your fitness goals. With locations throughout the region and nationally recognized fitness experts, you'll become a member of a supportive fitness community. We call it Extraordinary Fitness. Visit us online to start your free 7-day membership and let us help you thrive.
So we get ready for the fourth quarter. 7-0 your score. Aldi Carlo, Matt Evancho. Glad you could join us here for our D11sports.com Game of the Week presented by St. Luke's Sports Medicine. An interesting contest in this one, just 7-0, but both teams still in the mix in that 6A classification. Trying to chase Liberty, trying to chase Emmaus, trying to chase Stroudsburg, a team that Dieruff will play next week. But first things first, if you're Dieruff, you got to pull out a victory. They call it a playoffs scenario. There's a flag on the play after the reception made into the hands of Ryan Shatea.
It looks like we have a penalty in the offensive line area.
Penalty flag is holding on Dieruff. That reception will come back 10 yards from the spot of the foul.
So on Shatea's last 2 receptions, I believe, both were called back because of a hold. And you can see he's not happy because I'm trying to make some plays out here.
And that's the thing. He's trying to make plays. It looked like it was a Pocono Mountain West defender who had some extracurricular in the offensive line area with the hands up around the head. Usually it's the second guy that gets called, but that time it was the first guy that got the flag.
Second and 15.
So Castro out of the gun, takes the snap, and throws that one, and that was almost complete. Knocked away. Shatea, or I believe that's Shatea again, yes.
Just had his hands on it, but the defender comes in and knocks it out the last second, and that was Dion Marshall, who had that interception earlier in the game that was negated by a pass interference call.
And just like that, it's 3rd down and long here for the Huskies. Castro, near side, has a receiver and inbounds on the reception to Jaden Booth.
Pass is complete to Jaden Booth.
Castro finds just the smallest of areas to put that in to allow Jaden Booth to catch that and get his feet down inbounds. Just running, Jaden Booth was running a corner route. Castro was flushed out, but delivers the ball where he can get the first down and get his feet down.
Ball now at the 40. Goes to the sideline again and connects, and another first down on back-to-back completions to Booth.
Let me credit Alejandro.
Actually going to mark him short. It went out of bounds.
Alejandro Valderrama coming up and getting the defensive end who's been applying pressure all day long, picking up pass protection, allowing Castro to get some extra time as he rolls out to deliver that pass.
Yeah, it's been all pass here on this drive. Second down and a long one. Valderrama takes it, and we'll move the chains for the first down and a little bit more as he tiptoes down the sideline. Man, he looks good from up here.
He does. It looks like they're getting him the right touches at the right spots and allowing him to find some space in certain plays. As we said earlier, this defensive front of Pocono Mountain West very aggressive, so they're using that. Dieruff's trying to use that to their advantage.
Fourth quarter action from Pocono Mountain West High School, 7-0, West leading the Huskies. Looking to throw and making the grab. So on this drive, 3 catches made by Jaden Booth. Oh, they're going to call him.
And they're calling this incomplete.
They have the football. Wow.
Have to credit Isaac Menschuk coming in. He was beat, and Booth had to wait for the ball a little bit, and he gets his hand in and knocks the ball down just at the right time.
So second down. That's the I'll do it again. He's going to take it himself, and Nadiello will wrap him up. And also in there helping out with Cesar Lewis.
Dieruff uses that rollout to try to get Castro some move outside, but the defensive ends are doing a nice job turning that back inside. Previous to that, Valderrama picked it up and gave Castro some room, but this time it was Cesar Lewis coming from his defensive tackle position down the line and waiting for him to cut up, and he fills that gap immediately.
Third down and long.
False start. Dieruff, 5-yard penalty. 3rd and 7.
That's at least a half a dozen false starts.
And you're already third and long, so another 5 yards is not going to help you out much.
7th game in, Coach Liddy, what's going through his mind with those penalties?
You have to be careful, like what the false starts being from. You know, is it an enthusiasm? You know, you don't want the penalties. If they're careless, then that's something you're concerned with. But if it's an aggressive penalty, something you're trying to get something going, make a play, I know that could be something you can look towards and try to just build off of and get better.
Well, you can build off that as Booth makes another reception and then powers forward with an extra 4 or 5 yards and put it in position for a 4th down conversion here.
Correct, and we've seen him go for 4th down conversions earlier at different positions. Probably going to see the Dieruff Huskies use that hard count to try to pull Pocono Mountain West off sides again.
Yeah, they got him. And you said it earlier. You said it earlier that Castro was doing a great job, getting him to jump. And, he almost had it the one time, got him the second time, and gets him here on a big play because you were well away from that first down marker about a minute ago.
Exactly. You were third and way long, and now you're 4th and really short, if not getting the first down, and they're going to give them the first down. So as we looked at that drive potentially being ruined by not only the penalty, but the tackle for a loss and just the moving backwards, now they have the first down, and it's a whole different drive deep in Pocono Mountain West territory.
Gets hit as he throws that one, and going to say an incompletion. There's a flag at the end of the play, and it looked like the hit went up high.
They're giving them the completion.
So they are going to call it a completion. Okay.
It looks like we're going to get unsportsmanlike by somebody.
Flag throw.
So Dieruff in the best position they've been all day, the deepest they've been in Pocono Mountain West territory right here.
So not only the big play, but then also you get half the distance even more.
So Jaden Booth frustrated there at the end of that play saying, I made the reception. He comes up, and then they say, no, you did make it.
Yeah.
And then 50. So it goes from frustration to jubilation now, realizing that.
Jaden Booth made the reception.
And then you also had the penalty flag
First
down.
and goal
So
somewhere.
odds were it might have been against you guys.
Right.
So I made this great play, and now you're going to pull it back.
The 6-yard line. First and goal from the 6 for Dieruff. Facing that off of
So definitely the best field position for the Dieruff Huskies today at the 6-yard line.
So Huskies taking this entire fourth quarter here on this drive. Castro from the 6 and loses the football and dives back on it. Now Nadiello had a chance, but it was Castro that comes up with it. It's almost disaster there for the Huskies.
It looked like as Castro was coming around to toss the ball to Valderrama, he got hit from behind and knocked that back away from where he was going.
second and goal from the 16.
I didn't even see a flag, but they're picking it up anyway. Maybe that's why I didn't see it. So
I didn't see a flag come in either.
Joe DiOrio, I think he just dropped that one on his own.
Just fell out. Well, I guess because the flag's been out of their pocket so much today.
Looking to throw, and that one could be intercepted. They're going to try to get that one back.
And that was number 21, Matthew Marinovich, a freshman. Played back there to the secondary. Just kept backing up. It was almost like a punt. He just kept backing up looking for that ball, and it just went right through his hands. I mean, we've talked about it already. They've gone for it on fourth down how many times? You have to expect they're going to go for it if they don't get it here.
Now they started from the 6, and this one's moved all the way back. And as I say that, another 5 yards moving up.
Penalty.
Wow.
Offside on the Panthers. 5-yard penalty. Third and goal from the 11.
Coach McCarroll not happy at all on this near sideline. And if you're wondering about Caleb Monaco, again, shirt is off, and he's done for the day, sitting on the end of the bench. Next week will be at Penn Argyl for Southern Lehigh and Penn Argyl. Southern Lehigh, after their first loss of the season, should be hungry to get right back at it next week against the Green Knights. Looking to throw, has a receiver, and in for the touchdown. Eric Escobalis from 11 yards.
For Escobalis, it's only the second touchdown of the season, but couldn't have come at a better time. And I was wondering what was going to happen. Here, Dieruff Huskies, they're going to line up to go for 2. I mean, you still have plenty of time left, over 6.5 minutes left, but they're going to look to put these 2 points on, get the points now as opposed to trying to go into overtime.
Like the call, Matt?
I do. I mean, you have to feel the momentum's going your way. Let's use this here. Your defense is playing well. You know Pocono Mountain West is without their top playmaker. So why not take the chance?
All right, so he calls a timeout here. Do you try to draw him offside also, get even a little closer? I mean, it's been working for him.
It has been working. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Try to get, you're already on the 3. If you can get it down to the 1.5, how fantastic would that be?
So 7-6, they finally score. Castro to Escobalis. Escobar's second touchdown of the year.
And it was, once again, Castro just finding enough time to let his receivers get open, and then he delivers the ball where only his guy could catch it. I mean, he had a Pocono Mountain West defender draped all over his back.
Still an interesting call, knowing there's so much time left.
I wouldn't be surprised. They've had success running a zone read with Castro. Fake to Valderrama, let him pull it.
So Castro on the 2-point conversion. Fakes it to Valderrama, and that one is incomplete. Looking in the direction of Josh Wynn. And it's 7-6.
Well, the thing is now, you know what you have to do. Regardless of if they converted or not, they know what they have to do at this point. They need to stop, and they need to get their offense going again. And they're going to have to get down in the end zone or close enough to make the field goal to give them a chance.
So 7-6 is your score. Lone touchdowns, 40-yard touchdown by Caleb Monaco at the 5:28 mark of quarter number 1. And here at the 6:38 mark of quarter number 4, Castro to Escobar from 11 yards. 2-point conversion, no good.
If I remember correctly, I think Dieruff came out in the second half. They were all sides on the opening kickoff, but it was an onside kick. Or a short kick, at least.
Yep. So you're telling me something here?
So see if they try that again. Try to get a kick short and give their guys a chance to get down there and cover it.
Kareem Sharif, by the way, as he kicks that one off, just want to mention, has a 5.0 GPA. So he's pretty smart. And here on the turn is Isaac Menshaw.
And still fighting for extra yardage up the sideline.
Never heard really of a 5.0 GPA. Just want to throw that out. So give him the credit there. Looking at a bunch of quality schools, including Lehigh.
Well, I know this won't apply to you and I, but you have the 4.0 scale.
Yeah.
So that's all straight A's.
Yes.
But then you put into that honors classes, AP classes, the advanced placement. They get weighted a little bit heavier, so that can bump your GPA up. So he has those higher classes, but then also on top of that, he's getting nothing but A's in those classes. So what a fantastic job. But again, that doesn't apply to you or I.
That is correct. We can combine ours. We'll be close.
We would be close. He still might have us a little bit.
Far side of the field, Preston Green. Green has a big space, and Green's still on his feet. The biggest play of the game so far, all the way down inside the 20-yard line by Preston Green.
And as the whole half was going, the Pocono Mountain West offense was not able to get anything going, but it looks like they may have found a running back to substitute in here in place of Caleb Monaco, who's out injured right now. He showed some good wheels around the sideline there.
There's an injured Husky on the play.
And I believe it's Valderrama who's down. But just like we mentioned about Dieruff, Pocono Mountain West has gotten deep in territory, and they've been able to get down there, but they haven't been able to finish off either, just like Dieruff has not been able to finish off. They've had some turnovers and also turnovers on downs. So Dieruff can't sit back and concede anything right now.
Not at all.
They still can make the stop, and they still can get the ball going back the other way.
And games coming up for D11Sports.com. It'll be Suddenly I at Penn Argyl next Saturday afternoon. Then we'll have a Friday night affair. It will be Whitehall at Liberty on October the 18th, and we will finish things off on a Saturday afternoon at Notre Dame, a 2 p.m. start between Wilson and Notre Dame.
And it's good to see Valderrama sitting up and getting up and coming off the field on his own. Looks like he got hit in the stomach when he was going in for the tackle. One of his teammates came in as well at the same time and kind of knocked him off. He's been battling all day, Valderrama. Got hurt earlier in the game, gets hit here and gets injured a little bit as well, but he's been the catalyst for them offensively. He's what's helped get this offense going.
I want to thank Mike Del Grosso here at Pocono Mountain West for his hospitality, having us in here and getting us all set up and situated. Green again. And he'll go in for the touchdown. So how about Green with a pair of touchdowns?
2 straight carries on that drive for Green. And it looked like Dieruff had him in the backfield, but he was just takes a long stride and able to get outside of them. And it was just bad angles from the secondary coming up to try to cut him off. And he gets around the edge. And, you look at him, he's coming in, Preston Green, at 6 foot 190. A bigger guy, plays defensive line, linebacker. You don't think he has that speed to get around the edge, and he was able to just get around them quickly and finish it off in the end zone.
Extra point is up, and extra point is no good.
So now it gets interesting.
Yes, it does.
So now it gets interesting here.
So that leaves your score. Pocono Mountain West.
So 7-point game, just over 6 minutes left.
So if you're Dieruff right now, after that missed extra point, kind of like you're still back in, you're okay.
I mean, at this point, I think you get down the field, and if you have the ability, you get in the end zone, and you have a kicker, you kick the extra point this time around.
Mm-hmm. How about Pocono Mountain West? Really, no offense in the second half. Dieruff comes down, scores, and just like that, they come right back and they score.
And I think we might see that happen the rest of this game. It's just, maybe each team has found something to loosen up the other, and they're just going to keep pounding, keep pushing the ball down the field. Good sign here is Valderrama's coming back on the field for kickoff return.
Well, we get back to that one play with Javon Rodriguez, the pass play, trying a little trickery and stuff like that. But with Valderrama in the game now, if they keep him in the game and then you bring in Rodriguez, you're kind of almost expecting it. So, let's see what happens first on the kickoff. It's going to be a short one. Wow. Never fielding that one at all with the Huskies, and jumping on that was Isaac Menshaw.
And that's one thing you can't do on those short kicks is you can't let it touch the ground. That was placed perfectly. The rotation was perfect where it was able to bounce and come back towards the kickoff team in Isaac Menshaw.
Wow. That's a huge play by Menshaw.
And we'll see what happens here with Dieruff as they're just hustling on the field to get set up. See how they respond to that.
Green on the carry. Green pushing forward. And how about the offensive line here for Pocono Mountain West? They're really, making up some big holes here for Preston Green.
They are. They're coming off the ball with some enthusiasm. They're getting into this defensive line of Dieruff, and they're not giving him any kind of chance to get any opening space to get Preston Green in the backfield.
Preston Green coming in the game, 6 carries, 25 yards. He's changed that just a little bit. And Bray was dinged up there a few drives ago. Hasn't thrown the ball since, but hasn't had to because of Preston Green. And a flag thrown in at the end of that play.
I'm not quite sure if we're going to get a face mask or a holding penalty. A face mask against Dieruff. Not helping your situation, adding yardage onto the back of that run.
16-yard line. First and 10, Panthers from the 16.
Dieruff next week has East Stroudsburg South. I mentioned Stroudsburg. They have East Stroudsburg South first, then Stroudsburg on the road, and then Allen to finish things off. Pocono Mountain West give you their schedule after this play. 4 new downs for the Panthers. Bray And he gets tripped up on the play.
A nice tackle by Eric Escobalos coming up from his cornerback spot. Open field tackle on Bray. Bray able to gain 2 yards, a little over a yard. But they needed to do that to keep him honest.
West has at Pleasant Valley next week, then East Stroudsburg North, and then Pocono Mountain East to end things off. So, winnable games also for them down the stretch.
Yeah, if you looked at the 2 schedules, you have to think for these 2 teams, Pocono Mountain West has the more favorable schedule coming into the game.
Second down and 9. Green. It's back down to about the 10-yard line.
It was just a matter of time. We're looking at the fact we saw Dylan Colford for Pocono Mountain West leave the game early, their defensive end, tight end. So Pocono Mountain West countered that by bringing in, or replacing that by bringing in offensive lineman number 56, Jomaine Lebron, a 5'8", 240-pound sophomore. He's playing the tight end position with number 56.
And West taking all the time they need now, trying to see if they can milk some clock and punch another one in and pick up the homecoming win. Let's get this play off. Down to 4 on the clock. They get it down. There's Green, and Green finds a little seam and gets down inside the 4-yard line, down to about the knock him down right around the 1.5.
And honestly, for Pocono Mountain West, you should be in no hurry.
First and goal from the 2 for the Panthers.
There's no need to hurry up here.
Bray gets a push forward, and Bray will get in. So from a yard out, a 1-yard touchdown by Bray.
We're going to see Pocono Mountain West line up for 2 this time.
So it comes to 2:44 on the clock. Again, that all comes from the miscue on the kickoff as they got the football back. So they go for the 2. It's 19-6.
You have to think this is going to Preston Green.
Or not.
Oh, Bray just puts it a little bit behind his receiver.
Yeah, he was looking.
He's looking for Roland.
So your score, Pocono Mountain West Panthers 19.
So Dieruff still has a chance. They still have a shot. If they need to get things going quicker, though. They need to get moving down the field offensively, but it all begins with they need to field the kickoff.
Yes. And time is definitely not on their side with 2:44 left.
And it's great to see Caleb Monaco up off the bench, cheering on his teammates. Definitely not the day he wanted to have happen, but being a team player for his group.
Well, he was sitting at the end of the bench. They had the ball at the 25-yard line. There's a defensive lineman standing right in front of him. He's like, I'm trying to watch the game. So he said, all right, I got to get up. But you're right. Now walking with him. And
it looks pretty good walking. He had some ice on the back of his leg. But hopefully he can get healthy again and finish off this season. Had that injury last year, then coming back his senior year. Not how he wanted to have it go. But being a team leader is
yes.
Something Coach McCarroll has been preaching to these kids, and you're seeing it out of Caleb Monaco and the other seniors as well.
So 2:44 on the clock. And yet another flag.
And that time we're going to get offsides in Pocono Mountain West on the kickoff.
So Joey LeBron will do it again.
And it looked like they were kicking that one short as well. So they're looking, and I don't blame them, trying to get the ball back.
So LeBron has it back on the tee. Miscue earlier. And another whistle.
I don't see a flag down.
No. Not sure what happened there.
The ready for play was never blown. They're definitely kicking it to the right.
It's a flag still on the. See, that's indicative of what's going on. They said, let's just leave it here.
Just leave it out. It's going to come eventually.
It's going to come anyway. We got 2:44 left on the clock. Joe Diorio's staff has been busy today.
Here we go. We're ready to go.
Huskies will try to see if they can get something on the return by Laura. And Laura gets taken down.
That's George Europe, sophomore, coming in with the tackle on the kickoff team. Looked like he had some room to come around the edge. It just closed down so fast. I have to think Dieruff is going to try to go as quickly as they can, try to attack vertically down the field, see if they can get something quick.
No. Their go-to receiver in this game has been number 13, Jaden Booth. Shatea has made some good plays as well, but Booth on the last drive that got him a touchdown made 3 plays. Looking to throw, and that one is actually caught. It's caught by Shatea after almost having the INT was Vito Natiello, excuse me.
And Dieruff needs to get moving quickly.
Yeah.
Back in the backfield is Javon Rodriguez, the other quarterback. So see if they use that at all.
You have to score twice, so that's Escobalos on the reception. On these short passes, again, they do have 2 timeouts left. However, short passes may come back in a little bit.
And Escobalos was slow getting up and hobbles to the sideline.
Inside 2 minutes, down to 150 and counting. Looking to throw. And this one just aired there and intercepted. Taken there by Isaac Menshaw. And that could be it right there.
I think Castro just put the ball a little bit too far for his receiver to catch. Menshaw just does a nice job not letting the offensive player behind him. Retreats until he can make the catch and gets the ball back for Pocono West. And Dieruff with 2 timeouts, just don't think they have enough time.
No.
You have to think they're just going to run the ball. Pocono West is not putting the ball in the air.
How about Menshaw there? So he makes up the big play on the kickoff as he dives on it, and then from there he gets the INT. On the ground, Preston Green.
And all that's important is just holding on to the ball for Pocono Mountain West.
And David Litt is going to call his timeout here. He's got, again, 2. Again, sometimes you don't want to take them with you, so you might as well use them.
And you never know what can happen. Exactly.
You pop the ball out, you go in, the ball's inside the 20-yard line, you score a touchdown. So anything's possible.
You take the handoff, the ball pops on the ground, you scoop it up and score. With 1:20 left in the game, maybe, and you get the ball back.
So Menshaw with the INT and the kickoff.
That's a big second half for him.
Look back at my notes, and we'll have a second. We'll go to the recap. Caleb Monaco had a 40-yard touchdown run at the 5-8 mark at the first quarter. It was 7-0 after one. Second quarter, no scoring and all turnovers. Vito Natiello, who almost had an INT here, had a fumble recovery on a bad snap to Mark Castro. The second quarter, and Eric Escobalos had the INT. Lawson Bray. TJ Armand had an interception of Castro, and Jaden Booth had the INT. Third quarter, fumble recovery by Preston Green, who's been busy today as well. Then an 11-yard touchdown, Castro at Escobalos made it 7-6 after the 2-point conversion failed. Fourth quarter, Green goes 20 yards for a touchdown. Extra point was no good to make it 13-6, and then Menshaw recovered the kickoff. It was misplayed or not played, and here's Green. Almost going the distance once again. Preston Green, and then a 1-yard touchdown run by Lawson Bray on the sneak. 2-point conversion, no good, 19-6.
And I think with that run, that may just have sealed the game. Even though Dieruff has one more timeout left, And Preston Green goes out of bounds on that play. But give it up for Pocono Mountain West. Preston Green's our 4th running back in the game today. And he's the one that basically solidified the game for them.
And with that, depending on the injury, it kind of gets you jump-started ready for next week.
Absolutely. Because here you get a good look at what he's able to do in live game reps for Coach McCarroll. He's able to see this and say, we can work with this kid. We can utilize him.
1:23 on the clock. On the ground they go.
And Dieruff will take their last timeout now with 1:16 left. But I think that should be it. Pocono Mountain West should be able to take knees, and that'll be the game.
Homecoming here, as we mentioned, Marissa Kane and Joel Murphy, the homecoming queen and king. First ever king, yes. You bow down now to the king? Or
I guess you have to.
So, again, a great game to do, a great place to do a game here up in the Poconos, without question.
Absolutely. I mean, just a great atmosphere, great just scenery for the fans and for us to see. And we're always entertained. It's always good games.
This one was sitting at 7-0 for the longest time.
And then it just opened up in the 4th quarter.
Yeah. Game being produced by Sports Fan Base Network. Harry Blunstein's team of Josh Bellman, Sean Kelly, Dave Robert, and Ryan Turdzo. I want to thank them for getting us on board today. And that will actually stop the clock for a second.
Momentarily, just for the first
down marker.
That first down will officially ice it for Pocono Mountain West.
All right, so, Matt, with that, so the Huskies drop this game. They go to 2-5, and they will have East Stroudsburg South, which is one of the top teams in the north. Then they get Stroudsburg, and they get Allen. They're still in a position where, on paper, could win 2 of those 3 games. Again, that's what Dave Lilly talked to us about, was this game was so crucial moving forward.
Yeah, he did. He mentioned how they had a little bit more wiggle room than Pocono Mountain West did. Pocono Mountain West had to win this game. They definitely had to win this game to keep their hopes alive. But as you said, Dieruff has those 3 games coming up. I mean, it's not going to be easy. East Stroudsburg South, as you said, is the top team that they have on their schedule. Stroudsburg is one where I think they need to come in and play well, and then their rivalry against William Allen at the end.
So talk about then Pocono Mountain West. You mentioned Pleasant Valley, East Stroudsburg North, and Pocono Mountain East. On paper for Pocono Mountain West, all 3 winnable games.
Absolutely, and I think that's where for them that's a little more favorable. When you look at that, but that's not to say the first half of their schedule was insane for Pocono Mountain West, and you had the insane schedule, then you had to face some injuries. Now you're getting healthy again, and you have that last part of your schedule where you kind of match up better and you have better chances. It bodes well for them.
That'll do it for today. Final score once again 19-6. Pocono Mountain West a winner. They are now 2-5. Dieruff with the loss. They fall to 2-5. Next week we will be at Penn Argyl for Penn Argyl and Southern Lehigh. That'll do it for our D11sports.com Game of the Week. For Matt Evancho and everyone here, I'm Aldo Carlo saying so long. We'll see you back here next week. Have a great afternoon.